Hi, everybody. I'm meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Just got back from a weekend fishing trip, so I'm just trying to get my head back into the game. I want to take a look at what the models have been doing because there's been a lot of volatility from run to run that has been noted for the last number of days. And we're going to start with the GFS model. There's two things I want to focus on with regards to what may or may not happen in the longer term. And first off, that's what's going on up here in Alaska, where there's a polar vortex. And of course, you can see how the flow still remains going across the United States. And then you have a ridge that just kind of flies up on there. So it really doesn't. Now, this particular run of the GFS does not show any kind of specific breakdown of what's going on back in Northwest Canada. And until that happens, it can't really get that cold here. I mean, it can get down to seasonal, but it can't get cold. And then, of course, the other issue is whether there'll be an increase in any kind of storminess. And we do see troughs that are going through, but they're not, on this particular run anyway, not shown to be anything major. And the problem is that every other run shows a big storm somewhere, and then the opposite run shows little or nothing. So it's pretty much more of the same. Now, I have the Canadian run from last night, which goes out to day 10, and we can examine the same prospect here, and you can see still it's got this issue back up in Northwest Canada. But what it does do on this particular model is that it just gradually starts to break it down a little bit, and you start to see a little bit more of an eastward shift here as the vortex kind of tries to make its way into the western half of Canada. So there is a bit of a change here later in the period. It could be responding to what is supposed to be the collapsing North Atlantic Oscillation Index is below zero. In other words, an increase in blocking, although we really don't see too much of that going on here. And we can jump to the European from last night, which pretty much has the same idea as the GFS, although it kind of barrels through a couple of systems that move into the west, move on up to the northeast. So there appears that there'll be a more active period. You know, and one thing I want to make clear when we talk about what's going to possibly happen here in the Atlantic with regards to any kind of change in the overall pattern with those indexes going to negative does not necessarily translate into a more wintry look in the east. It might translate into a stormier look, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to have a colder look much below normal. And you know, for the snow lovers, I'm going to hate to tell you this, but we're not yet even into the middle of November. So to come to any sort of conclusion with regards to this pattern at this point is kind of silly. We have to wait and see how it all evolves. And in typical Novembers, especially down here at the coast, snow events are not unheard of, but they are rare occurrences, and you have to have perfect setups in the atmosphere aloft, and we, at least for the time being, we just don't seem to have it. So we're going to look for what the day runs do and see what it means for us in the longer term, and continue to watch and see how this whole thing plays out.